In the shed with a head.
Hey YouTubers and friends, thank you for joining me out in my shed. This is not In the Shed with Ed. This is a new mini-series that I have been discussing, or I have discussed, the lost arts of prospecting, dowsing. I'm interested in it, and I know there's a lot of other prospectors that are interested in it too. This first episode is going to be a brief episode on a little bit of the history that I have come across in the research I've done on dowsing, with basically two tools, dowsing rods and the pendulum. Could either be the witch stick, you know, the forked witch stick, or the L-Rods and the pendulum. I will show you these tools probably in the next episode, but all you dowsers know what I'm talking about, and for you who don't, just Google search dowsing tools and they'll show you the pendulum, the rods, the Y stick, and some other ones. Also the bobber, which I've never used. Maybe we'll get into that. I plan to even end up with some footage or using the electroscope, so all the way from the past into the present of dowsing and the tools that have come across. So I guess that'd be rods, pendulum, the e-scope, electroscope. 3 tools for sure. But now to the history of dowsing. The ancient art of dowsing has been practiced throughout millennia. Although the names used to identify it may have changed in different cultures and eras, the techniques have not. In 1949, a party of French explorers, while searching for evidence of lost civilizations in the Atlas Mountains of North Africa, stumbled upon a massive system of caverns known as the Tassili, T-A-S-S-I-L-I, caves, wherein many of the walls were covered with marvelous prehistoric pictures, paintings, among the many fascinating wall murals, not only did they locate an art gallery devoted exclusively to the depictions of spacecraft and ETs, Well, extraterrestrials. They also found a remarkable huge wall painting of a dowser. I have the picture right up here. And onlookers admiring him, fellow tribesmen surrounding him. The murals were carbon dated and found to be at least 8,000 years old. During several research journeys to Egypt and the Middle East, researchers had photographed etchings on 4,000-year-old temple walls of pharaohs holding objects in their hands resembling dowsing rods. Cairo Museum is holding ceramic pendulums which have been removed from 1,000-year-old temple. The historical records of Greece refer to dowsing, and the arts was wildly practiced on the islands of Crete as early as 400 BC. That's quite a long time ago, 400 years before Christ. Researchers have uncovered evidence that the Pythian oracle in Delphi used a pendulum to answer the questions posed by her clients, kings, queens, nobility, and military commanders who traveled great distances to confer with her. The blind Greek poet Homer refers to dowsing as Rabdomancy. Rabdomancy. R-H-A-B-D-O-M-A-N-C. Sorry, I'm not the greatest reader already, so work with me, people. Which means dividing rods in Greek. That same word is still used today in the Italian language to denote, dowsing in his monumental work, The Odyssey. Homer also called the dowsing rods caduceus. C-A-D-U-C-E-U-S. Caduceus. Which was passed from Apollo to Hermes to Asclepius, A-S-C-L-E-P-I-O-U-S, the ancient Greek god of healing. I don't really care much about Greek mythology anyway, so. Okay, this mystical legendary staff with the entwined serpents has become the universal symbol of healing used by medical societies around the world. In China, there is an etching of a Chinese emperor, Yu, who ruled China 2,500 years ago, and in his hands he holds rather bulky, turned-pronged devices that resembles a dowsing device. Now, in the Old Testament, the prophet Ezekiel reports that the king of Babylon, Nebuchadnezzar, uncertain as to which city he should attack, Jerusalem, the capital of Judea, or Rebath of the Ammonites. Ammonites, today modern-day Amman in Jordan, directed his dowsers or diviners to select the best target, and they chose Jerusalem, leading to its seizure and the long Babylonian captivity of the Jews. Back in the 1400s, dowsing as we think of it today was called Virgula. Virgula. V-I-R-G-U-L-A. Divine in Latin, which means dowsing with the rod shape. In Germany, during this period of time, dowsing devices were used extensively by miners seeking mineral ore, who referred to the forked stick as Deuter, D-E-U-T-E-R. An umbrella word in German meaning to show, to indicate, to point out, to augur. I really don't understand the augur. Or to strike. According to Christopher Bird, author of the classic book, The Divine Hand, no one is absolutely certain of the origin of the verb to douse, but it has seemingly made its first official appearance in 1650 in an essay written by the famous English philosopher John Locke, or Locke, L-O-C-E-K-E, whose noble writings inspired the framers of our own Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. Interestingly, London, England, 1912 edition of Mining Magazine published the first translation of a Latin opus, O-P-U-S, opus, into English. It was called On Metals, in praise of dowsing, which had been first published 356 years earlier. Collectively, in some of the world's finest libraries, the Library of Congress, the Widener Library of Harvard, the Sterling Library of Yale, you can find approximately 3,500 specialized books on the ancient art, and the list grows steadily all the time. First, the question is, what is dowsing? Well, for those of you who are unfamiliar with the term, let me say that you won't find anything of value in certain dictionaries or encyclopedias. Those comments prepared by orthodox scholars are incomplete and inaccurate, giving only a few descriptions, generally summarizing all with the cryptic comment that dowsing is simply folklore. Engineer Raymond C. Willies, one of the founders of American Society of Dowsers, back in 1970 book, Modern Dowsing, gives one of the best definitions I have encountered. Willie says, dowsing is the exercise of a human faculty which allows one to obtain information in a manner beyond the scope and power of all the standard human physical senses of sight, sound, touch, etc., etc., etc. I got my material through the website of American Society of Dowsers. I'm using this material in an educational manner, and I believe I am protected under the Fair Rights Act and Copyright Act. So don't sue me, anybody, plus I'm broke anyway. So thank you for joining me in this first episode of the Lost Arts of Dowsing. And in future episodes, I'll be actually out in the field, dowsing myself, using the pendulum, and meeting other dowsers in the Midwest and talking to other dowsers like on the West Coast. Reed Lukens of California is a dowser, and a couple others. So if you're a dowser and you're watching this, contact me and help me learn, to help all of us learn through this mini series of the Lost Arts of Prospecting Dowsing. Until then, oh wait, probably the next episode will be on the tools I use for dowsing and some of the other tools in dowsing. And we'll also get into mount dowsing, and there's also the health dowsing issue, and it gets kind of greeny and hippie-ish and kind of new agey, psychosomatic from there for me. But until then, thank you for joining me, and may you always have a flash in your pan. And then again, you know what I say, I always say it. Maybe one day too, I'll see you on the river.